Today's talk is entitled Jewish Mysticism and the Ascension of the Soul. So, before I start, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background to myself and the research that I've done. The research is formal research and it can be repeated by others. You will probably find that you will get the same images, maybe slightly different, but I can make predictions of what you do if you mirrored my research. But a lot of what this talk is going to include are personal experiences during the early 90s. I was poisoned, and this contamination was leaking into drinking water. I had what I considered to be 2 near-death experiences, and at those points certain things occurred which shaped my thinking today. I also, a few years later, well, at the time I was having a number of sort of like out-of-body experiences or whatever. And so a lot of the ideas that I bring to this cannot be tested, or certainly what I'm going to put forward today is based upon what I class as empirical research into the all-bar wave and its interpretation in regards to ancient ideas of ascension, which have come from sources which were classed as the mystery schools, or can be classed today as the mystery schools. So before I start, I think it would be beneficial for people. I put a video set together. It's called The Cosmic Tree of Life and the World's Ancient Mythology. And that last video in that group of videos called the Cherubim and Seraphim. It's video 7 in that playlist. Maybe worth having a look at if you haven't seen any of these works before. I'm not going to carry on and talk about how the all-bar wave works all the time and repeat things, because it'll just make this video longer and longer. So what I'm going to do now is just set some background to these mystery schools and the Jewish Kabbalah. I think Madonna has adopted that. This is a thing of personal power. It's been very, very much corrupted. But we have the Hermetic schools of Hermes from Greece. It is believed that Alexandria the Great found Hermes' grave, and in there were tablets and writings of his. That's about 300 BC. And then we have the Hermetic Kabbalah. Now I think that these are one and the same. They've just been brought together and then diverged. And they've probably even been merged into and merged together and then split apart from the Egyptian mystery schools. And a lot of this is about the ascension of the soul, the transmutation of the soul, and I'll do another little video of how this has been corrupted over time, because Aleister Crowley got involved with this, and I will even bring in concepts such as Moses, and bring some difficult questions for people. They're not meant to be difficult, but I'll bring them in anyway. So we have the Hermetic here and the Kabbalah, or the Hermetic Kabbalah, and they have come from the Library of Alexandria, as far as I'm concerned. So really, what I need to do is talk about the Library of Alexandria and why these ancient mythologies are one and the same, and probably not even a mythology is a good word, but there we go. So the Library of Alexandria was charged with collecting all the world's knowledge, and most of the staff were employing people. Most of the staff were occupied in the task of translating works onto papyrus. So in the Library of Alexandria they had scribes. It did so with an aggressive and well-funded royal mandate, including trips to the book fairs. So they had book fairs. This is about 300 BC. According to Galen, books were taken off every ship that came into the port and were listed as the Book of Ships. The official scribes then swiftly copied these writings. Some copies provided so precise the originals were put into the library and the copies delivered to unsuspecting owners. So it was a trade in books as well. This process also helped to create the reservoir of books in a relatively new city. So now we have trading books imported from all over the world, and some of these books could be ancient text if they were invading country. We know recently what happened with the Babylonian artifacts when the Americans invaded. They stole all the items from the museums. So I want you to imagine now that this library in Alexandria, which was burnt down, and they can't really date the proper dates, and they can't really say it could have been the Romans, but it was burnt down. Maybe 200 BC. There's a couple of different dates for it. So now that you're the librarian or a scribe in the Library of Alexandria, and you've got all these mystery schools, text, obviously you've got probably even the books from Egypt themselves there, as Alexandria is in Egypt, and it has Greek mythology in there, which is probably very much similar. And these books then are shipped out when there's a pending invasion, very much like they did with the artifacts in France when the Germans were invading, and moved to a safe place. So they were sailed up the Mediterranean Sea. Now this is only conjecture, and these scribes then took them into the Dead Sea caves of Quran. So these very may well have been Jewish scribes. The coins that they found in the caves with these scrolls were from John Hyrcanus, and Hyrcanus was a Persian city which the Greeks conquered, and so the coinage that they were paid in is around about the time 135 where Alexandria fell, or the earliest coins that they found. And so these scribes packed up the books, sailed up the thing with the coins in the pocket from 132 BC, with books that could have dated back maybe 100 years before the Alexandria Library was formed. And we have our history. Out of these caves come, out of the books and the burning of the library and the theft of these books, because not all of them would have been burnt by the Romans. The Romans would have had interest in them themselves. They would have contained mathematics, the works of Pythagoras. No, they wouldn't have burnt them all. It's like saying that all the Mayan codices were burnt. So what we've got now is the dissemination, the bringing of all the world's history together, and the invasion. It repeats itself. And what they found was the scrolls were written in a trade language, Aramaic. So trade languages have developed throughout human history for commercial reasons, but also for diplomatic reasons, administrative convenience. This means the exchange of information between scientists and other scholars can happen. You know, and that is the understanding of the Aramaic alphabet. It was also came from Neo-Assyria, which is the Babylon. So we got some of the fragments in the Dead Sea Scrolls are from Babylon, or feeds from ancient Babylon, and the other fragments found in the cave were Greek. And the Greek is the oldest written language. It can date from 1400 BC, and it was this cradle of language was written on a tablet they call Linear A, which cannot be deciphered, and Linear B. Now, what is interesting is that this clay tablet was called the Room of the Chariot. You know, and there are some references to meditation, and so what we're looking at is these ideas have come out of, have been sort of brought together, and probably were very similar at one time, and then they diverge or get corrupted. As I stated, Aleister Crowley even got involved with this Kabbalah or Hermetic or whatever you want to call it, and this is the Jewish mystery schools. So what we have is concepts like the soul's ascension. We have the macabre mysticism, or the Chariot mysticism. Now, isn't that funny? Now, the text of Linear B is the Room of the Chariot, or Chariot mysticism, and we have now a Jewish mysticism or Chariot mysticism. Were the scribes in the Dead Sea Scrolls writing a first-hand experience, or rewriting an experience and saying it was theirs? I mean, we're never ever gonna understand the visions in the Bible, because they may or may not have happened where they said they were. They may have been transformed. They may be Old Testament Jewish stories. They could be as well. But when you get other stories which predate them, saying similar things, and you begin to doubt it. So this mystery school was in this current after the death of Christ, 100 to 1,000 in the Common Era, what they class as the Common Era. And this is about the ascension of the soul. And so is the Emerald Tablet. The Emerald Tablet is about the transformation of the soul. The Secret of Hermes is a text purporting to reveal the secrets of the primordial substance and its transmutation. So these mystery schools now are working off the transmutation of the soul. What does that mean to how can we make sense of anything that has been so fragmented and shattered? I'm not sure we can. My research allows me to see it, but to even deliver it to people is just like, I know how much I've had to change my mindset. If you're told one thing is whatever you're told it is told it is, after time it becomes it. It's very many concepts now are held in our minds, which are actually false concepts. And these words have been used against us and even mythos, is just mythology. It's just to be ridiculed, and yet it's an actual real accounts of things. So these Hermetic works, which are where have they come from? The Corpus Hermeticum is a body of work widely known in Greek texts. These 17 books are set up as dialogues between Hermes and a series of others. So Hermes is discussing this with people, and this is what the works are about. The first book involves a discussion between God and Hermes, supposedly resulting in a meditative state. And it's first time that Hermes is in contact with God. So, God, demon, what is he talking to? Do we know that it is God? How can this happen? There's so many questions. He then is taught the secrets of the universe to Hermes, and later books are generally Hermes teaching others. In the Emerald Tablet, which was again found by Alexandria, it talks of as above, so below, the small being the large. So these are probably meditative practices. But to me, they've been corrupted, and there are far better points of reference which are far older that I've used in my research work to explain these things. I'm not suggesting that you cannot have out-of-body experiences. I've had them. Near-death experiences. The soul is eternal. Many people won't have had that privilege. It's also a very challenging time to realize that the actual state of the soul is out of matter and out of a body, and that is where you can see the true luminosity of the soul. It is a bit like when we're in our bodies. The difference between when we're in dense matter, i.e. a body, and out of the body is greater than that of sleep to when you're awake. It is beyond. The luminosity of the soul and the vivid natural state of the soul is in a free state. So you can see why I am biased by those experiences, and why I recognize some of the things that are being told by these mystery schools. Some of these things by the mystery schools I dislike. I dislike because I know or I believe that I know what is going on. So according to Jewish mythology, there's a tree of life. This is the cosmic tree. The magnetic field, or the energy field that holds and binds everything together, whether it binds an atom together, whether it binds a cell in your body, whether it binds your heart together, or the heart field, your kidney fields, or the universal field, or the creative field. So this is the tree of life, and my other videos explain it probably a little bit better. So the tree of life produces new souls, which fall into the treasury of souls, and Gabriel, which is just a mechanism, what I talk of as a magnetic field, reaches into that treasury and takes up the first soul. that comes into his hand. So it's the opposite of ascension. That is called the guff. And the Jewish Kabbalic beliefs is that there is the tree of life. And Kether, obviously a corruption of the Greek word ether, emanates from the rest of the Seraphot. So we have all types of different energies relating to the tree of life. So there's certain energies produced on the tree of life. Darth is not assigned a number, as it's considered to be a hidden Seraphot. So I've talked about the primordial research into the all-bar wave and how it transmutates, as the Secret of Hermes purports. That is my interpretation. So in the middle of that you've got my drawing of how I see the tree of life, or the magnetic field. The magnetic field is the thing that brings movement to this energy and actually forms this energy on its fields. I suppose you could call it God consciousness. It is a field of energy that binds all consciousness together. In fact, it binds all the laws of the universe together. In fact, it binds everything together. So that is a little drawing of how I see the energy created. This would be equivalent to the Jewish tree of life. And I want to go back to what they talk about, which is that each is considered to be an emanation of the divine energy, often described as the divine light, whichever flows from the unmanifest through the Kether into the manifestation. This flow of light is indicated by the lightning flashes shown on the diagrams. And so this ancient mythology that's been picked up by the Jewish faith actually mirrors my research. This creative force, the thing that holds the soul and brings life force itself, as shown in this picture here. We have an electron microscope of an orb. We have a microscopic, as above, so below, I suppose. One is, which one's my picture? That's the kind of questions we should be asking about it. Which one's a microscope? They're both the same. So, the guff. According to Jewish mythology, there's a tree of life, tree of souls. So there's a field of energy that produces souls. Where that is, I cannot even offer any idea of. They fall into the guff, the treasury of souls. The Gabriel reaches and grabs one of the souls that comes into her hand. But of course, this language is not great. Gabriel is, as I said, could be the magnetic field. And so we have to have a look at Gabriel's palace. And of course, how are we ever going to understand the all-bar wave and this primordial substance that brings consciousness into the material world? How are we ever going to understand that when we have such a history of the personification of it? And so the angels of conception. So let's ignore the word angels and just say the process of conception. There is a midwife of souls. And the name is Lala, the angel of conception. But of course, we don't even know what these angels are. Well, these are the forces of creation, the primordial serpents. When a time has come for conception, Layla seeks out a certain and hidden soul in the Garden of Eden, or on the tree of life, or whatever, the cosmic tree. The soul is always reluctant, for it remembers the pain of being born. I think we all know about living in this world in pain. It prefers to remain pure. And with my near-death experience and that luminosity of the soul, I did want to stay there, to be honest. I mean, I can actually firsthand say that I am waiting to go back. There's no way you can speed up that process. Once you've seen it, there is no fear of death. Lala compels the soul to obey, and that is how new life comes into being. And so, the infant grows in the womb. Layla watches over it. Layla shows the child the rewards of the Garden of Eden, as well as the punishment. But when the time has come to be born, the angel extinguishes the light and brings forth the child into the world, and is also brought forward, and it cries. Lightly the newborn kissing the lips to forget all it is learned. And so it's mythology. Layla then returns at the time the soul needs to return back to the afterlife. To me, this is what we're talking of is the process of death and rebirth, the reincarnation. And this is the reincarnation that I never believed in until I had those near-death experiences, and I started to see many of my past lives. But of course, this mystery schools has been corrupted, and I will, as I said, do another video on this, the corruption of the Hermetica, because of the involvement of Crowley and many other, even Moses. Well, we certainly have to argue the case for Moses, whether he was talking to demonic forces. So this angel brings around the conception, and I just want to show you an image partially from the book. Fertilized egg and an orb, or an angel. You know, how would anyone comprehend one of these orbs being an angel? The carrier of information throughout the universe, even the carrier of consciousness in thought. These concepts are probably beyond most. Even at times I have to shake my head, because what I'm saying has been generated from the research. So what we have is, I just want to show you some pictures of orbs under microscopes, and of course they're not orbs. They're as were predicted, this ether or chi or life force. And so this process of ascension, so what these angels are energy that collects the soul and ascends and descends from the heavens. It's very much Jacob's ladder's idea of reincarnation, of the ascent and descent. So where did all these things come from? It comes from prehistory. We have the divine ladder of divine ascent, and it has come out of the world's most ancient understandings that have just been handed down through time until writing occurred, and then when writing occurred, it transmuted itself into things like human angels. So I want to show you this photograph. This is probably the only bits of evidence that I've got. This photograph was taken by my young daughter 15 to 18 years ago. Probably 18 years ago. It was taken on analog camera. It was during the time when I was recovering from these illnesses, and you can see a load of spaghetti. These digital images, the one before it was bleached white, and the one after it was bleached white, and that is the top of my head. If you have a look at the source of where the energy is coming out of the head, you will see my hair. And my daughter took this when I was particularly ill, and so it is my life force leaving my body. And I would then occasionally leave my body at the same time, due to the amount of blood that I was losing. And so we have the ladder of ascension. We have the ancient understanding of the ladder of creation, the DNA, and the how we materialized from this energy. The Hopi have a hollow reed mythology, where they travelled through and were formed from the energy of creation. Very, very strange stuff. I can't even get my head around it myself, but it is there for me to tell it, so that more research into these most ancient scripts can go on. In the book, I include some near-death experiences, not of mine, because that would undermine the research. And the ascension into the tunnel with rings round were recorded by a woman called Teresa. And one of the last of the later images in the book describes the ladder and the soul being absorbed. So we have a soul being absorbed into the tunnel, which returns back to its source of creation. The ancient mystery schools have turned their divinity, not everybody, but their divinity, into demonic forces which they communicate with. And my next video will be describing the talking to these gods. Thank you very much. This probably makes no sense at all. Thank you, everyone. I am just telling it as I see it. Thank you. Goodbye.